Hello, hi, if you've just joined us, my name's Dominic McCardle. I'm the course leader for Philosophy, Religious Studies and Ethics at Queen Elizabeth's. And today I'm going to be, this is virtual open evening, so you're going to get an introduction to the subject, what we teach at QE and what you can get out of it, more importantly. If you've just joined us, there's a Q&A button at the bottom. Please don't hesitate to ask any questions. I won't be able to answer them immediately, but as soon as I get a minute, if I see one come up and we get a break, then I'll answer your questions. Seth has asked, how similar is the subject to GCSE RE? Well, there are different exam boards, Seth. The exam board we're using is AQA. If you study in the AQA exam board, it's very similar. In fact, it's been designed that way. If you've done any kind of RS at school, you're probably used to the kind of big issues that we study on philosophy and ethics. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But there's no prior, if you enjoy it at school, you know you're going to enjoy it at A level. There's no prior knowledge required. You don't need to have studied RS GCSE to study at QE. There's something, I'm sure there's something for everyone. But it's certainly, you'll be used to it if you've done it at GCSE, you'll be used to these issues. Right, I can't see any more questions coming through at the moment. Please don't hesitate to ask if you've got something that you'd like to ask. Use the Q&A button at the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a brief overview of the subject, what we teach, the kind of specification we use at QE. I'd like to give you a proper overview of the course in a bit more detail, and then what I'll do is I'll show you some of our students, some of our ex-students, and what they went on to do after studying with us, philosophy with us at QE. Before I start, I've got one more question here. What topics would you study? That's Hannah. I'll introduce that to you, Hannah, in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to talk you through some of the broader issues, and then we'll get into specifics. QE. We teach the AQA exam boards, and I know a lot of students have studied the AQA exam boards, RS. And if you've done that at GCSE, it's a straight link in to the A level, so you know if you enjoy it at GCSE, you're going to enjoy it at A level. What's important to make a note of at the start of this is that we've chosen the exam board that's not theological so much as philosophical. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you studied RS with a more theological point of view, it would be about the nature of God, the nature of religious belief and Christian belief, maybe. You might study the life and times of Jesus, study the New Testament in detail, look at the Old Testament. This course isn't like that. This course is more philosophical. There is a Christianity component, but that Christianity component is very much tied to the philosophy side of it and the ethics side of it. So, it's not a requirement to have studied it at GCSE before, and you guarantee there'll be something that you'll enjoy doing. We chose the more philosophical exam board, which is the AQA one. And this really deals with the fundamental questions, the big questions facing humanity. In this case, the big questions facing humanity to do with religious belief. It's got 3 components. There's the philosophy side, there's the ethics side, which is like moral philosophy, and then there's the Christianity component. They both take up a third of the, they all take up a third of the course. So the philosophy side of it would be asking the big fundamental questions about religion, about God, about the afterlife, about morality. So is there a God? Where's the evidence? If there is a God, if so, how much? Why is there so much suffering in the world? There are people who claim to have experienced God, seen God. Are we supposed to take those claims seriously, and why? And we'll be answering questions like, theoretically, could you survive the death of your physical body? We know the physical body dies and it decays, but there are many philosophical reasons for suggesting that that's not necessarily it. And certainly with religious belief, there is this belief that we carry on into the afterlife. So philosophically, we'll be asking, is that possible? On the ethical side of the course, you'll be asking broad ethical questions like, what's the best way to live your life? Is it okay to be selfish? Would it be okay to let one person die if you knew that that would save 5 people? Or are there moral rules that can't be broken under any circumstance? So that's the kind of broad issues. You'll be looking at moral theories, and then what you'll be trying to do is apply those moral theories to very particular problems. A lot of them are to do with these applied problems are to do with medical ethics, because that's a growth area for moral philosophy. Medical science is developing at such a pace, it's quite often a struggle for us to keep up. So no sooner has the technology been developed than we have to ask, well, should we be using this? So classic cases are things like cloning. So a lot of the applied issues that we look at are to do with medical ethics. And I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. There is a religion side, there is a Christianity side, and if you enjoy that aspect of GCSEs, then we will be doing that. But on the religion side, we are focusing on how religion finds answers to all of the questions that I've just mentioned. We do study Christianity, but it's not a study of Christianity, it's more that Christianity is an example of a religion that faces these problems. So what you're going to do is look at what Christians believe on all of those issues, so that at the end of this, you can decide if Christianity can answer satisfactorily the kind of problems that I've just mentioned, or if you think that those problems are just too big for religion to survive. So before I move on to a more specific, a detailed overview of the course, I've got another question in there. What are the subject requirements? Right, Anastasia, the subject requirements, just get into the college. The college entry requirements are 5 GCSEs at grade 4, and that includes maths or English. But as long as you have that, then you can study this course. So I'm just going to share, I'm going to try and share a screen with you here. It gives you, to try and give you an overview of the course. So should be seeing that now. Let's see, I'll try not to, yes, hold on, I will. I'm going to try and show this. I'm going to say, yes, okay. So, this is the course. I teach it and Chris teaches it. My name's Dominic McCardle, and you can see my email address there, and that's Chris Crozier. He also teaches on the course. The course covers 2 years. It's an AS and an A level. The vast majority of students see it through to an A level. Not very many students take the AS, and it's only in exceptional circumstances. And really, you wouldn't want to, because the AS it's quite a hard paper. Ironically, it's harder than the A level. The AS would be a 2-hour paper and a 1 hour, but you have to really work hard in those 3 hours. A lot of writing, and answering questions very quickly. The difference with the A-level exam is they are longer exams, but it is roughly the same number of questions. What the examiners have done is structured these exams so that there is a lot of planning time. They want you to think about the quality of your answers at A-level. So we do a lot of work with you on that, and hopefully I'll get a chance to talk about how we can help you improve the quality of your quality of your thinking and writing on this course before we finish. So you've got one exam that's on philosophy of religion and ethics, and one exam that's on Christianity, and then, as I said, you have to decide whether philosophy and Christianity, whether Christianity can survive the problems thrown at it, and that's what we call the dialogues section of the course. So it is all exam, but there's a lot of help, a lot of support that we give you in preparing for those exams. And like I said, the exams have a lot of time for you to take your time over answers and plan your answers out. And I think that's something that we do exceptionally well, is prepare you for that. So on the philosophy side, we start with arguments for the existence of God. Some of you may be familiar with some of these arguments, for example, Paley's Watch, the teleological argument, but there are two others, the ontological argument and the cosmological argument. Two of these suggest that there's evidence for the existence of God in the world, and that from that evidence we can infer God's existence. One of them, the ontological argument, says that we don't need evidence, we can prove the existence of God simply through the definition of God. And when students come across that for the first time, they can be quite surprised how effective that argument works. So that's the first part. Then we look at evil and suffering. So some of you might be familiar if you've done GCSE. Like I said, no requirement to have done it before, but if you have, you might be used to terms like natural and moral evil. So we look at why there is so much suffering in the world and how you can justify God's existence in the face of so much suffering. And there are some very sophisticated arguments in that regard. The next, we look at religious experience. So this is, that's a picture of the author of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Or you might better know it as Blade Runner. Philip K. Dick had a religious experience and it affected his entire life. So we have to look at people who claim to have had religious experiences and ask ourselves, well, they say they don't need the proof of God's existence because they've experienced it. We have to ask ourselves, well, what does that mean for us? So then you move on to the ethical theories. There are three types of ethical theory. There are teleological ethical theories, which suggest that what we should do is try to maximize a certain outcome or goal. So, for example, should in everything that we do, should we just act to try and make people happy or spread the most amount of pleasure? Well, there are some very British philosophies that think that is the case. That's the secret to morality. Some others, much closer related to religion itself, suggest there are certain laws, and all we have to do is follow those laws. They're deontological theories. And then the third type is virtue ethics. Virtue ethics neither follows law nor kind of goals. It suggests that we should focus on selfishly on improving our own character, because to a virtue ethicist, good people. Sorry, my lights just got up. Sorry, it's environmentally friendly light. So the goal of our goal should be to improve our personal character, because good people will make good moral decisions. And then, like I said, what we do is we apply these to particular ethical theories. So you see it's broadly defined as issues of human life and death and issues of non-human life and death. You can look at some of the issues that we'll be looking at and applying moral theories to. you will be asking yourself, can these different moral approaches solve these particular problems? And as you can see, there is a scientific leaning in all of these, medical scientific leaning. But there are other things as well, like capital punishment. Is it justified? Can it be morally justified? The Christianity topic, all of these different these areas that you look at in the first year are all tied to particular philosophical or ethical issues. So, for example, God, you'll be looking at the Christian idea of God, and that coincides with, does God exist? And many other topics, actually. I mean, it's a big issue within religion. Many of the other problems that religions face. The afterlife you look at in the first year, what do Christians actually believe in the afterlife? Because in the second year, you have to ask yourself, is it philosophically possible? So, you will be set homework, and we expect it to be completed, but we give you a lot of help on that, and we have a lot of resources to help you. And in terms of the resources, a lot of the work you do is on Google Classroom, so I'm not sure that anyone's got this question, but obviously we've been through quite a trial recently in education. It's what I'd like to say is that we never stop teaching. Our teaching continues all the way through Google Classroom. So we're quite pleased with that, and that's still going on today. You know, students who unfortunately for one reason or another are missing their studies, they can continue online. And the thing that I think we should be particularly proud within the department is skills development. We're doing a lot of research in fact, we're doing research, cutting edge research with the University of York on student skills and skill development. I think that's coming to fruition now, and we're doing some very interesting things that are paying off with students in terms of developing their higher order thinking and writing skills. So yeah, we've got a lot to offer. Now, before we move on, I've got a couple of questions here. So, do you have any trips away? Unfortunately, at the moment, because of the nature of COVID, that has been kind of stalled. What we were doing at the start of this year, last year, before it paused, was planning a trip to Greece, Athens in particular, because of the philosophical nature of Athens, and but Socrates and Plato, these are big names in philosophy. Socrates, Plato and Aristotle all came from there. The pass rate is, we've got 100% pass rate, and what other subjects would you do with this course? The great thing about philosophy is this is about dealing with the big questions, and the skills development work that we're doing is all about how students can tackle those big questions most efficiently and effectively, and the thinking skills and soft skills maybe, that they can use, developing those skills that they can use to tackle those questions. Now, if you can answer questions like, is there a God, and is there a life after death, and do so effectively, you'll have developed finely tuned skills that you can use elsewhere. So any subject really, and hopefully I'll show you that in a second. So if we move on, I'd like to show you some of the things that our students have moved on to. These are some of our ex-students, and as you'll see, they've gone on to study a range of things at university. So we do get a lot of students going on to philosophy, because and some have gone on to, for example, Zoe has gone on to teach philosophy at Newcastle University. Philosophy, nursing is a very popular one. The ethical questions that we ask in medical ethics are really useful for nursing. So some students who are considering a career in nursing, maybe doing health and social care as well at college, find that aspect of the course really useful, because they get to grapple with those problems in ways that they don't get a chance to in health and social care, although they complement each other really well. Law, we've got many students who study with us who've gone on to study law at university. Those soft skills that I was talking about, the reasoning skills, the ability to use your thoughts and most effectively, or if you're facing a problem, to take it from start to finish really effectively, that can be really useful in subjects like law. But apart from that, one topic within law that students really enjoy is called jurisprudence, and it's the philosophy of law. And many students get drawn to that within law, and the philosophy side of it. I think their background in philosophy is what really helps them to enjoy that and make the most of it. We've got students who study fine art. We've got students who've gone on to study media, gone on to study politics, and some have gone on, like Helen went on to study politics in America at postgraduate level. She went on to Cambridge and then studied it in America. Politics, I also teach politics. So that's something I've got a lot of sympathy for. There is political philosophy on the course, and it's something I should say. Although it is religious philosophy, that can encompass political philosophy. It can encompass philosophy of mind, which we've just been doing with the second years this week. It can encompass what we call epistemology and metaphysics, which is philosophy of knowledge and reality. So all of this comes into it, and in very real ways. There are people who've gone on to do PR and marketing. Got a few students who've gone on to do that. Accountancy, Bobby went on to accountancy. Teaching, thankfully. Many people have gone on to do that. And some people just, some of our ex-students just say, look, it's just changed the way I look at life. It's changed the way I approach the world. And I think that's really nice. Maria, for example, went over to Africa. She didn't go into higher education. You don't need to. She travelled the world and then went to teaching in Africa. So there are many different routes that you can take from philosophy, and many different subjects that it fits with. So I've got I've got a question here. Yeah, sorry, just a reminder, if you've got any questions, please do submit them using the Q&A button below, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Is there anybody who knows what they want to do after college? So somebody's asking me what my favourite topic to teach is. It really does change from sometimes I think from week to week. I really enjoy them all, if the truth be told. Philosophical problems are just they're fascinating to think about and to talk about and to debate. We do a lot of debating. But this week, the philosophy of mind, I thought was really interesting. We were asking about artificial intelligence. Is it possible, and how would you know if we've created artificial intelligence? So we've got close. I mean, we're not talking Alexa, but it's interesting to think about Alexa, because Alexa would be, if you've got Alexa at home, that software or intelligence, artificial intelligence, is probably capable of a lot more than it actually does in your house. So we've been asking questions about kind of how would we ever know if something was conscious? How would we know if artificial intelligence has actually achieved what we're capable of? So yeah, that's what I've been enjoying this week. So contact time. There's 5 hours teaching time per week. So four lessons, 1.5 hours, and 2 1 hours. But with the second years, we've got, because we've got a bit of spare time, we're giving them an extra half an hour. So that's the second years are getting 5.5 hours, just to help them. You know, it's a difficult time. Make sure that they're getting all the content. Make sure that they're covering everything that we went through over lockdown. So it's a lot of class time. It's a lot of class time, but you're expected to do work outside of that as well. But we structure that really well. And the activities, I'm sure you will find them original. You'll be doing stuff in this class that you've never done before. I can guarantee that. You will have a lot of structure to the work you do outside. So we won't just throw a question at you and say go off and answer that. It's highly structured. So has anybody got any questions? Is there anyone who knows what they want to do after college and maybe wondering how this fits in with it? Does anybody know, is there anybody there who's certain about what they want to do at college and just wondering if philosophy fits in with it? Law, right. Well, like I said, you know, law is essay-based. It's a humanities subject, and a lot of the skills development stuff that you're going to be doing in philosophy will fit directly with that. But you also find that we do a lot of stuff on natural rights, for example. That also fits directly. It fits directly with what you're doing with law. And you're going to be looking at the moral justifications for capital punishment and punishment in general. So that will. So the type of homework. Somebody's asking what kind of homework set. Is it reading chapters and exam questions? No, it's more structured than that. It's based on some research that we're doing, like I said, that we're doing on the course, it requires you to build the amount of detail that you go into in your learning independently, and then what you do with that. But it's describing it would take, well, that's a thesis in itself. But yes, you will be doing questions. Is there an overlap between sociology and this A-level? Yes, there is. I mean, on a broad level, they're humanities subjects, but in terms of the fact that they are humanities, we're dealing with a lot of similar issues, particularly around Christianity, communities, issues. But you will find yourself involved in sociological issues there. The average class size, at the moment, the average class size is around about 18. And somebody else has asked, I'm going to do politics and history, but I'm looking for a third subject in philosophy, religion, and ethics really interests me. The politics, I teach it. History, I don't teach that, but I can guarantee that the essay skills the thinking skills you're going to develop will really help you. Do we do work on specific philosophers or just on philosophical ideas? Definitely specific philosophers, Seth. So we've been doing Descartes, but also philosophers from the philosophy of mind this week with the second years. So Descartes movement behaviourist Gilbert Ryle, David Chalmers, Frank Jackson. So if you look at philosophy of mind, we've been covering their ideas this week. So I think that's it. I can't see any other questions. So look, thank you so much for turning up today. If you've got any other queries, please, you'll find our contact details on the college website. But thanks very much for turning up today. And I hope you enjoyed that little presentation. Thanks.